What up, what up, what up? Your boy Justin Henry here, Tyler Health here. Today, we're going to be getting into auction mock drafting. Listen, auction drafts are a little bit different, right? And so, Tyler, I don't know how you are, man, but for me, I really love the auction draft format. I think it brings out a lot of the expertise. I think your skill is a little bit more valued and your ability to negotiate, right? And like find players that you really like or that you maybe dislike. Sometimes that matters in auction drafts. So I don't know, man. I love doing at least one auction draft league a year. How are you with auction drafts?
Honestly, I haven't done many for years now. I did do some, but like it takes a long time. So when I would do like my own mock drafts for like lives, it's just people by the end, like not even by the end, by like the first couple of rounds, it's just all bots because everybody's already left. So it's hard to do, but I do enjoy it because there's definitely a strategy involved with the budget and everything. I just think it's even like it's like fab in the sense where it's just a fairer way to do things and allow everybody to have the same equal opportunity to draft everybody. So
Yeah.
you can't sit there with the 12th pick and be like, well, I have no chance of drafting Jamar Chase. Everybody has a chance. So
Yeah,
I
everybody has a
like it.
chance. It's
Yeah.
one of those things where you can get the player you want. If you want to spend all the money on
Yeah.
one player, you can do it. But shout out to the chat getting here early, man. Gabe, what's popping? He said, get your lineups lined up. What's popping? Hope everything's been good. J-Han, what's good? Andy, I'll join for the mock. I'm going to drop the mock draft link right now in the description or in the chat, excuse me. Good afternoon, Texas T. What's popping? Q, what's popping? He said, the GOATs, J-Han and Tyler. What's up, boys? Listen, I'm going to go over some auction draft tips. Meanwhile, I'm going to drop the link in the chat here, so you guys will have the link. We need to get this thing filled up, all right? But a few auction draft tips, okay? If you have not done an auction draft, essentially what it is you get a budget for players. It's just like Fab when it comes to your pickups. So you get a budget for the entire draft. You have to make that budget work for you. There's a few different strategies. One of my favorites is to get one of those elite players early on and kind of hold your water until it's time to go, right? You want to make sure you are able to get an elite player because elite players is how you win in fantasy, right? You've got to have those guys in weeks 15, 16, 17 that can take you over the edge. And then you find value later on, right? So with that, there's going to be a lot of dollar players later, players that you'll be able to get at a discount because other people don't believe in them. So if you're looking for maybe value and you're smart on your game and you have some of those sleepers, it's important to hold your budget because early on, you're going to find that people spend. People want to spend their money early on, and then you start to realize, oh, shit, I don't have a lot of money. Let me hold back. And so I think there's a lot of value when it comes to those middle rounds. Another thing that people do, and I don't recommend, but oftentimes this is a great playoff strategy if you just want to get to the playoffs, is to not spend it all early on. Some people won't spend in the first 2 rounds, and then they'll find a ton of value picks that they like later on and stack up like those high-end wide receiver 2, back-end wide receiver 1s, those low-end running back 1s. And so you can hold your water and not pick, but a lot of times you lose out on that elite value. So there's going to be a team that has, Justin Jefferson and Bijan Robinson are 2 high-end players, and then they're kind of stacked with like a lot of other talent that's valuable. So for me personally, especially in PPR leagues, you want to make sure you get at least 1 or 2 elite players in this thing. Like you have to leave your auction draft with at least 1 or 2 players that you really like. And then get your sleepers too. Bidding tip. If you don't like somebody, put them up early. Let somebody else spend more money. People are way more willing to spend money early on than they are later, all right? Let's get into it, y'all. We're going to get into this mock draft. You got any tips, anything, Tyler? I know you said you don't do a whole lot of them, but anything like just off the top of your head, you're like, I typically like to do this in auction drafts?
No, I mean, from what I remember, I do like to wait a little bit towards the end because there's definitely guys that you like that will be cheap, that other people may not like, or just they don't want to spend a whole lot of money on. And another thing is definitely like quarterbacks. I think you can get really, really cheap quarterbacks later in the draft. So if you want to spend up on a guy like Lamar, I want to do that personally. But if you want to do that, I mean, go for it. For me, I would rather just get one of those cheap quarterbacks and build out like the running back room or wide receiver room and try to focus on those type of guys.
Yeah, I feel like you have to decide, all right, is there enough value here, especially like at the quarterback position? Is there enough value for me to wait? or do I need to spend right now? Like, is the value too good for me to pass up on? So Lamar, Josh Allen, sometimes everybody in the room is thinking the same thing. They're all like, oh, I'll just wait on quarterback. I don't want to spend. But then the player becomes a value. So the good thing about auction drafts, versus I would say like standard leagues where, you draft in a snake league, the auction leagues are all different. Every single auction you do is going to be different. So you need to be prepared mentally to go in with like adapting on the fly. Some do a bigger budget, right? Like sometimes you have a bigger budget in your auction league. They'll do like a 300 or 1,000. I've even seen. You got to make sure that you account for that in all the settings. So when you go through your rankings, you'll see the projected price here. That is just a guideline. That's always a guideline. So don't make that your absolute like. And what I'm looking for, like here, honestly, like before I even get into the draft, is like, where can I find some value? So, like you mentioned, quarterbacks, Tyler. One of the things I'm doing is seeing, okay, what's the difference between if I take Josh Allen at 28, or maybe I take, a Justin Herbert at $1, or a Jordan Love at $1. That's a $20 difference. So now I might be able to say, okay, James Cook at $41, or am I going to just pay up and get Derrick Henry at 56? That one little difference can make the difference in your lineup, so to speak, right? Like the difference between a Jordan Love and maybe a Jalen Hurts is now the difference between Derrick Henry and, Tony Pollard. Are you wanting to pay that? And so that's what you have to decide is, can I find those dollar players? Like, I really like Jordan Love this year, so that's a player I might do that with,
Yeah. Max 191. Is that the max bid that you can put on?
Oh, yeah, good question. Yeah. So when you're looking at the board here, you guys send us to somebody send us to the Discord if you can. The max 91. So that's the most that you can spend on any one player. Okay. So you'll have a max budget, even though the budget allowed is 200, the max budget is 191. So that'll be the most amount that you can spend on one player. And that number will go down as you bid. It'll also tell you the number of players that you have on your roster. We need to fill all positions. So it's a total of 10 players. So for every player, you have about $20 to spend. Okay. That's another thing too, is like with the auction draft, you got to be all the way locked in, like the whole time.
Yeah.
The whole time. Like you can't miss. Yeah, I like auction drafts is like you can decide, all right, I want to bid on a player or I don't, like, or you're just scooping up value. Like maybe the market doesn't see a player like you do. And I feel like that's why I like auction drafts so much. It's because a lot of times I can get players for a lot less. Another tip, if it's the very first player off the board, I hate ruining this, but if it's the very first player off the board, a lot of times people don't want to spend all their money early, so you might get a value there. The very first player, just trust me on that. In your drafts, it'll probably go that way. Telling on myself, but like a lot of times you can get good value with the first few picks, or first pick specifically the first pick. Also auction drafts, right? Like other positions. So if you have, I would recommend like this, right? So say you have to think in terms of your dollar, it exponentially grows, right? So if I can find a dollar player for the same as you finding like a $5 player, exponentially, that's a 500% increase on your value. So what I typically do in drafts like this, where they have kickers and defenses, I will put a defense or a kicker up very early in the process. Because a lot of times, like you can find the difference in defenses isn't going to be a lot. The difference in kickers isn't going to be a lot. But you can find a lot of value on defenses and kickers for $1 versus like paying $10 for a defense or paying $7 for a kicker. It tends to work out.